Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We're here for the top 12 of the SCG Columbus 20K. I'm one of your hosts, Mason. I'm joined here by Pro Tour champion Andrew Ellenbogen. Andrew, are you excited to see some more modern action here in the top 12?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that the top 12 of these SUGs is often pretty strong. I think we're going to see some pretty high quality magic. And honestly, after that banger around 13, I'm feeling great.
Yeah, I'm super excited. That was a super fun first round for us to be hopping into. I can't see the rest. But first, let me quickly grab the mic and hijack this here because we have some amazingly handsome and talented sponsors. It's me, Barry. I am the sponsor. That's right. I reached out to Honorog and I've been doing coaching full time. That's been my job now for the last about 8 months. And it's been really awesome to see players grow. And Honorog wanted to give me a second to directly talk to y'all to talk about coaching. So what I do with coaching is this is not what I think a lot of people think coaching is. There was a while during the late 2019, 2018 where some Magic players said, "Hey, I'm coaching you." And they would play a league and they would tell you all the answers, which I think is just kind of garbage, right? We do some VOD review and we talk about stuff, but I'm not here to give you the answers. Imagine for a second if you were a parent and you hired a math tutor and the math tutor came and the math tutor just gave your child the answer to all the problems, took your $100 and left, right? That would make you so furious. I apply the same sort of logic when it comes to coaching. I have lesson plans, I have curriculum, I have homework, I have these sort of things that I do, and I work with you to understand. I am really big on the idea of you will not need to have coaching or do these sort of things once you understand this stuff. We work on everything from the basics to more complex stuff. One thing I really work on a lot of people is understanding how to sideboard, how to mulligan. That is a big thing that I've worked with a lot of people. And this little weekend, we're doing a special promo with Honorog. If you reach out to me and let me know you found out from Honorog from the stream here, you're going to get 10% off your first session now through September 11th. So you can scan that QR code. It's going to take you to my Twitter. From there's a post where you can reply or DM me. We can discuss the details and figure out what's right for you. But I think coaching is something that can really help a lot of people, and it's something that I've seen help a lot of people over the last couple of months. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out and we can totally talk and we can go into more details as well there. But coming back to us now, Andrew, you're allowed to talk again. I've given the mic back to you. We get some exciting magic. I actually don't know what our first matchup is, but the deck lists are public here for top 8.
Yeah, so we'll find out. And yeah, we haven't seen too many of the Wild Little Drains cards here. We'll see if any of them do end up making the top 12. If not, we'll just get some kind of classic modern action, which looks like what we might be seeing here.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have Cody did make it. I was curious about this. If Cody had lost last round, which he ended up doing, would he still make it like in 12th place? Looks like he made it in 10th place against Dave Shields here from the JRT and Dave Shields podcast. It looks like we're going to start with their game of 4-color Omnath versus 5-color Creativity. In the background, it does look like we have Yawgmoth versus Amulet Titan, so we might get a chance to see them. We'll kind of depend on how these games go. But Andrew, playing this matchup, who do you think is sort of the favorite, and what's going to need to happen for the underdog to win this game?
All right, so before the One Ring was printed, I think basically everyone thought that Creativity was pretty good against 4-color. Fundamentally, they were doing somewhat similar things, but it was very hard for 4-color to ever tap out, and eventually Creativity would be able to kind of leverage that into either an advantage or a resolve Creativity, which would slam the door. Since the One Ring was printed, I think the matchup has gotten a lot closer, a lot more dynamic, and these days I think it's pretty close. I'd say anyone's game. I'm not necessarily saying 4-color is favored with the ring, but I think it's back to parity. And so the way this is going to go is, well, okay. So Cody, due to kind of fear, is not going to be able to tap out very easily for any card that isn't the ring. And the reason for this is, well, if Dave Shields resolves a Creativity, especially Creativity for like X equals 2 or 3, Cody's game is going to end, more or less immediately. It's going to be very hard for him to clean that up or get out of it. But he can safely tap out for the ring, and if the ring resolves, it's going to generate him like an absolutely massive advantage. So, and that's kind of the fundamental
Couple lands into One Ring. Dave has a bunch of lands. He's going to keep him this mold to 6, though. Looks like he has Creativity Leyline binding 4 lands.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess you have to keep this your Dave Shields. You're not going to go to 5, but it's on the low end of your 6s.
It looks like it's Golden Card. We went over it in chat, but in case you're watching at home on YouTube, the reason 10th is playing 7th is it is top 12. First through 4th got buys into the next round of the elimination round. So we're watching the other matchups play to sort of have a normal, quote-unquote, normal top 8 from there. So still great finishes. And one of the good things about this is, you know, sometimes we would see players miss when they had the same record as someone in 8th place, right, all the way down to 10th. Top 12 sort of eliminates that. And we do see both players starting on a triumph. We have Jetmir for Dave and Warren for Cody.
Yeah, and given Dave's hand and the kind of lack of hassle here, it looks like we're going to have a relatively sedate game, neither player jumping ahead out of the gates.
Yeah, go.
So one other interesting aspect of the matchup is that in general, okay, so I mentioned before that 4 colors can try to hold up a lot of mana. And the reason they're going to try to do that is mostly that they want to be able to remove dwarf tokens when they're targeted by creativities in response. And it's kind of interesting here, though, that Cody has, I think, drawn a prismatic ending, which is often one of his worst cards in the matchup, to be honest. Since it does not allow him to answer creativity instant speed. So all it's really good for is hitting something like a Teferi or Fable if Dave ends up tapping out for those.
Cody accidentally has put his, there we go. we went to fetch with the Misty, we put our Triumph in the graveyard. We did bolt down the Goblin Shaman token. That's going to prevent any sort of scary, you know, X's 2 creativities on turn 4 here for Dave. But an Endotha Triumph from Cody.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting that Cody chose to do this, because Cody had a Teferi. So we had the option of untapping and bouncing the Goblin token there, and then just trying to endure a creativity for 1, and like kind of clean up. But no, he's actually taking a more conservative line. He's not going to tap a Teferi, continue to hold up instant interaction, and just expend his bolt instead. It's interesting because he's sort of declining on a favorable exchange to avoid letting a creativity for 1 happen.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially because if Dave doesn't have the creativity for 1, like you mentioned, using the Teferi on the token means your bolt's lined up for the future dwarf. So it's not straight like you're giving it up forever. Clearly a tactical decision there from Cody, as he did bottom some stuff and play the Sacred Foundry.
Yeah.
Teferi, Omnath, Fury in hand, and Boseiju and Prismatic ending.
And I think that given that Dave's hand is, well, mostly landing creativity, I think this decision is going to work out pretty well for Cody, especially since his hand doesn't seem that well suited to kind of cleaning up on our cards. If it did get cast for Exil's 1. Whether it's right or not, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it looks like it's going to work out well for him here.
Yeah. Dave discarded Dwarven Mine and Scalding Tarn. Plays an Arid Mesa for turn. Could X's 1, but we have seen Dave be very conservative and very methodical with his creativity, sort of opting almost, it seems like, if I can do anything besides creativity, I will do that instead.
I mean, I feel like the way Cody played it, casting nothing on his turn, holding 2 mana, it's so ambitious for Dave just to be like, no, I don't care. I'm still just going to jam into that. Like, I think Dave almost has to hold back here, and I like this play from him.
I agree. I think Dave, you know, can afford to get 2, 3 Dwarven Mines, get them all in play off fetch lands in the same turn, and just be like, all right, listen, have a lot of spot removal go, you know? Because Cody has no pressure right now. Plus, Dave's, you know, oh, there goes the Boseiju.
Now things are interesting. The question here is, does Cody slam the ring? Because if the ring resolves, it's great. He gets a free turn off, he can draw a bunch of cards, he can probably use those cards to clean up even if creative for 2, so the Archon triggers themselves will be countered. But if Dave counters it, he gets destroyed.
Okay.
Right? Like if Dave plays like a Spell Pierce or something of that nature, then Cody will lose the game on the spot. And so he looks like he's again going to choose to be conservative. Play Teferi, hold up interaction, not in a rush.
Yeah, we do see it ticking up now. We have Prismatic hitting at instant speed. Looks like Dave's going to take an end-of-turn fetch. Maybe grabbing the Dwarven Mine? Yeah, going to get the Dwarf now. Maybe wants to get a little attack in. See if he can, you know, maybe bait Cody also into using it a little early.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this is a pretty significant part of this matchup, is that creativity is going to try to utilize Fable tokens, Reflections of Kiki-Jiki, and Dwarf tokens to pressure 4-color without ever kind of committing or tapping out, and then kind of drain 4-color's resources so that they're not as prepared for the ultimate creativity fight.
We do see Family Ricker again transform the reflection of Kiki-Jiki. Cody does have an Elishnorn in hand. Not lights out against the creativity deck, but does sort of act like a Thalia of sorts. You know, it'll take you one more in order to get your Archons going.
Yeah. I don't... Does Cody not have any lands, though? I might be mistaken, but I didn't see any lands in his hand.
I don't think he had any lands. On turn 3, he preordained and, you know, bottomed to try and find a land, got the Sacred Foundry, and only had Boseiju in hand. So I think he was trying to hold the Boseiju for as long as he can, maybe hoping to use it on something like this Reflection. Dwarf is going to attack down the Teferi.
So given that Cody doesn't have any lands, though, that might force the action, right? Often in kind of control mirrors of Magic's past, the first player to hit a land drop is the player who's first forced to go for something. So that kind of fundamentally means you have more spells, which means you want to exchange resources more, which means you have to tap out. And I do think there's a similar dynamic here. Although maybe Dave is just right now going to go for creativity. That is quite possible. Cody only has 1 mana up to interact.
Yeah, I think Dave's like, listen, you might have something like Prismatic Ending, but you're going to need an Ending plus a Solitude, and I might be okay with that exchange. And yeah, we've seen, you know, just an Ending as the only interaction we had.
Yeah,
like, there we go.
This is kind of the punish for not having gone for that ring, is that now Cody's kind of in the same position of needing to sort of clean up this Archon board, except that doesn't actually have that much in the way of things to clean it up, since he hasn't gotten that card draw going.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about the ring too, right, was it protected your Teferi. So you could just even unsummon the Archon, and, like, you know, worst case scenario, you do that and then fight through it later. So a lot going on here.
Yeah, no, he did get Dave to tap out. So now Cody doesn't worry about any counter magic or interaction. There's no worry about the ring getting your spell here, so it has one. But I just don't know if he's going to have enough resources to clean this up with only those 3 bonus ring cards.
Agreed. And we have Reflection of Kiki-Jiki for this Archon, so, you know, the ring might buy us a turn, but we could very easily be in a dangerous, you know, make a bunch of Archons and just win on a single attack here.
Yeah, and one of the scary parts about that is because Reflection can copy the Archon at instant speed, you can kind of wait for your opponent's ring protection to wear off, and then get an Archon trigger on their turn, which sometimes is devastatingly effective.
Looks like we are going to see... He picked up a fetch, and we might see Omnath end up fetch for the ring.
That seems pretty logical to me. I imagine this is what I would do if I were Cody. Definitely, your opponent does have the option to then make you sack the Omnath by copying their Archon, but if they sort of copy the Archon early, like, that is, say, copy it in your upkeep or whatever, then they're really exposing themselves to a lot of bad situations, such as Solitude, for instance. So I think that it's not clear that Dave Stills should do that, which means Cody should expose the Omnath, right? There's sort of this complicated interplay going on.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Cody could really be, you know, thinking about is, do I want to pitch the Omnath to the Fury to answer this Reflection? And I think that's too much of a losing line right now. And we ended up picking up Leyline Binding, which is huge here. So I like this from Cody. If he's going to win from this spot, he kind of needs to make some stuff happen. So made that kind of play, and he's going to just Leyline Binding down this Archon real quick.
Right, just say no to any Kiki spinning, just get out of play. Don't get your binding countered somehow, or whatever nonsense they may have. Yeah, I like this main phase's best phase.
Yeah, you see Dave kind of struggle, like, oh, that was pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yes.
Now, Dave could have something like another, you know, creativity from our Archons, but that won't do anything in this moment because the ring is giving Cody protection, as Cody learned about last round.
And this is a really important dynamic of kind of the creativity 4-color matchup, which is that although creativities are good, they're often not knockouts unless they're for like 2 or 3. And so you can see that because Cody was able to, you know, Prismatic Ending, reducing the creativity to just 1 Archon, he's now cleaned up the Archon and is kind of just in the driver's seat. Dave sort of just needs another creativity, and he needs it fast.
Okay, you see Dave taking a moment to think through his turn. Make sure he doesn't mess anything up here. Untimed rounds, of course, as we do see Arid Mason's the lane for turn. Cody, clearly an expert with this deck. His hat telling us as much.
Looks like was that a considered pass from Dave here?
I think it was, yeah.
If Dave passes here, things are really bad for creativity. I'm not saying no comeback is possible. It's game 1, so Cody doesn't have any real counter magic, which means that if a creativity at some point resolves, it could bring us all the way back. But boy, it's going to be tough given just how many cards Cody has, how many ways he has to kind of at instant speed interact with that plan.
Okay, so I think what Dave's doing here is in response to the ring trigger, I'm casting Leyline Binding to binding your binding, get back my Archon. If you want to pop your ring to find an answer, you're going to take an extra point of damage here. So really tight play there from Dave, just to make sure to get every little inch of value here. Cody is going to draw 2 in response, maybe trying to find a binding for the binding or a Boseiju. You know Cody has at least one Boseiju in play.
I mean, obviously, the sort of chip damage isn't incredibly relevant, but those 3 damage from the Archons do add up, and I think that, you know, might as well take your free point.
Take 3.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no downside to really doing it, and with this reflection of SCGCON in play, if this play goes off, you just rip Cody's hand apart, and he's basically dead. As it looks like Dave's actually responding with a Leyline Binding on the ring.
Binding results.
Oh, wow, so he baited the ring activation. He'll only draw... Or wait, did you draw less cards? I believe?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I know that it's last note information, but I don't know how it works with the burn counter. If it's on immediately, or if it puts a trigger that then puts a burn counter, is unclear to me. Looks like these players are figuring this out.
I believe the burn counter is part of the resolution of the ring's ability, which means that in this spot, Cody will only draw 1 card because the binding was in response.
I agree. Yeah, because in real life we move it to 2 immediately, but there's technically a whole interaction that happens, and that's sometimes the awkwardness of real life when we do things. But we do see the judge fixing it there for the players. So Cody only gets 1 draw, and now this binding means the Archon hits play. The Omnath's going to get sacrificed. Cody's going to discard a card, and whenever Dave wants to, he has this active reflection of TTG.
Yeah, I guess I spoke too soon when I said this was bad for Dave. If his hand is double binding, then we are talking.
It looks like Cody was actually the one in a bit of a bind.
All right.
Sorry, I just fetch shocked.
Yeah.
So I fetch shocked down to 8, down to 15, and I'm back to
Cody's
18.
had some ability to stop
And
this,
I'm gonna
right?
draw.
He could have had, you know, something like a
And
Solitude
let's see,
response,
should be
exile the
18
Archon,
here.
sack the Solitude,
18,
maybe his own binding response to not let the Archon play at all, something of that nature. Doesn't end up having any of that, and now the Archon copying is going to begin. Cody's going to die extremely quickly. If our elections are correct, he's at 10, which is not a lot of life. Yeah, I think he's just going to be dead.
Yeah.
It looks like Cody might Fury the Reflection, which, I mean, look, it's nice because it means the Archon, the second Archon, the copy, doesn't get to attack, but it's not really going to do it.
That solves.
Yeah.
Response. Copy Archon. Sure.
Yeah, and it looks like Dave has a bolt in hand, so, you know, as long as Dave moves out of combat on the next turn and remembers to cast his spells, which I have faith in Dave to do that. We are going to be seeing a game number 2 here. Up one, yeah, and we see Cody just pack him up, be like, yeah, I'm dead, I can't really win this one.
Very heads-up play from Dave with the double way of letting them go. Keep bait the ring activation and then respond by getting rid of the ring. I think he played that very well.
Yep, agreed. And nothing else from Dave, right? Last time we saw him on the Underdog stream, I believe he lost in the semi-finals when teaming with his brother and Jerry Thompson. It looks like Engineer Explosion is going to go there. But, you know, someone who's been around the game for a long time, recently coming back in a real prominent way in the community by joining the Jerry Thompson podcast. But it's like Veil of Summers, Engineered Explosives, and Dovin's Veto are going to be, and Flusterstorms are going to be the board in for Cody here in this open deckless tournament.
Yeah, all pretty reasonable sideboard cards. I like this. I think the bigger question with the Focal deck is often what you cut in this matchup. I think that it's common to trim Omnath because you can't really afford to tap out. Also, yeah, Furies, as you can see going for those, aren't amazing. They do a few nice things, but they're not great. Prismatic Ending might go, might stay, depending on Dave Shield's specific configuration, which, of course, Cody knows, but we don't. But, Yeah, something of that nature.
Yeah, let's take a look over here, Dave. Looks like Cody's opted to keep most of the Omnaths in. Maybe he'll cut the fourth one here while we're looking over at Dave. Meanwhile, Dave, taking a minute, just double checking his deck, taking out a bolt at least. Let's see here.
I mean, it could make sense leading more Omnaths. In general, the more Omnaths you're cutting, the more you're saying you're playing to hold up mana. The more you're leaving in, the more you're saying, I'll just tap out and clean it up. And maybe that's more how Cody plans to play the post-board games. Do something like slam an Omnath, veil them, untap, and solitude it or something like that.
Yeah, looks like from the way Dave has been sideboarding, looks like he pulled 4 bolts and 2 spell piercers to the front. Unsure what the cards he's bringing in actually are, but those seem to be the cards he's looking to cut.
Certainly makes sense. I mean, Bolt is not really good at all on this matchup on the creative side. You can take out the halflings, but I think that's not really what the game is about. I think as creativity, you can mostly afford to let them have their halflings. Spell Pierce is more interesting. If you can nail the ring with it, that's very good. However, it does go dead quickly. The games tend to go long. Oftentimes, neither player really makes a move for the first several turns. So I can imagine just saying like, look, I'm playing to play a 10-turn game, especially post-board, and I just expect my spell pierce to go dead.
Yep. Looks like Dave has some purges. Oh, here we go. Here's the deck list. All right, so in Dave's sideboard, we have 2 Terrastodon, 3 Celestial Purge, 2 Change the Equation, 2 Terra Sunder, 1 Nature's Claim, 2 Veil of Summer, 1 Silence, 1 Fluster Storm, and 1 Plains.
Interesting. So I do imagine that some of this sort of counter magic-y stuff is going to come in. Like some mix of like veils, flusters, I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure how do you want to go on it because your opponent only has limited counter magic sideboard. Like maybe fluster is good, but veil isn't because like you don't want to fight over their counters, but if you can fight over their counters and fight over their other things, maybe that's good enough. Although, again, there's similar issues with the card eventually going dead. So I'm not exactly sure how Dave is going to sideboard. Historically, I just think that his only obvious bad card is Bolt. Spell Pierce is, again, medium. And in fact, if he did indeed cut 2 there, he agrees that it's medium. He's saying, like, I don't want 3, but I want some.
Yeah, agreed. And, Dave here is playing the Bitter Reunions in his main deck this weekend, and between Bitter Reunion, Prismari Command, and Fable the Mirrorbreaker, we have a lot of rummaging and looting, and we're able to just, we can have, like, a bad Spell Pierce in early game if you catch the Ring or Teferi 3 or something like that, or Ren, you're over the moon, and if not, well, you discard it and you get a different card later.
Yeah, I think my biggest question for me is I'm having trouble coming up with 6 cards that Dave Shields is boarding in here. Like, I'm not totally sure. Like, is he imagining... Is he going to be changing the equation?
I think he is. I think he might be changing, tearing, and veiling as his, like, 3-ish things.
Interesting. What do you imagine he's playing to do with Terra Sunder?
Hit the One Ring, because it exiles, I believe.
Sure, okay. That's reasonable. I mean, it's not the greatest exchange ever since they still get the card, but because that doesn't go dead and all his counter magic for the ring does go dead, it might be worth the fact that they still just get a card sometimes.
Yeah, I think the idea is, like you mentioned, right? Spell Pierce is debatable, Terra Sunder is debatable, but Terra Sunder also for 4 mana is just, get rid of a thing on the board. And so I think Dave is like, yeah, I'd love to kill the ring, but if things get bad and my opponent, has an Omnath that's going to kill me or whatever, I'll get rid of that instead. As we see
and the inspeed is also definitely pretty relevant here, since both players do kind of want to sit around, not commit too soon, wait for the opponent to tap low. So I do think that's patient as well. They can pass, hold up mana for an Omnath to remove an Omnath or whatever, and then if that doesn't happen, then go for his Terra Sunder or something like that, if it ends up making sense.
Yeah, it might also be like we saw last game, right, as a preordain happens here for Cody, that the Leyline Binding often is the way that, you remove the Archon. So having just another disenchant is kind of nice, right? Like, I'll kill that and get it back, another trigger, even if you bind it again.
Yeah, alright. We'll see if Dave did indeed bring in those Terra Sunders, but definitely makes enough sense, I think.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're going to see a Foothills fetch here for Dave. Dave's going to double check his hand. Might mean he has a Triumph in hand. Might also just mean Dave doesn't want to mess up his mana and lose in top 8 and have an oopsie poopsie moment. That would be awkward. Get me your pass.
I thought if I have it out, you can't combo me,
I think a lot of 4-color and 5-color modern players have at some point or another grabbed a land with a fetch that they weren't in fact allowed to fetch, so definitely want to be a little careful about that.
Yeah, the one nice thing about this deck, though, is that all your things are mountain adjacent, you know? You just can't put the Boseiju into play. It's like the one land in your deck that you just can't grab, which is nice, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess creativity does not really have you as much as 4-color, where you have to worry about exactly which of your lands, find exactly which of your lands all the time.
Oh yeah, who has not cracked a Flood Strain and almost grabbed a Stomping Grounds and, like, you know, with 1 minute on the clock in the 4-color mirror? Everyone's accidentally done it once or twice. Anyways, speaking of that, shout out to Jerry Thompson and the Dave Shields podcast. Love the show.
So I imagine Dave is going to be going for a run here based on fetching this untapped. And then the question is going to be, how highly does Cody value the Ren? Because certainly in a long game, the Ren does generate a healing advantage in the form of land drops, some of which will turn into Dwarf tokens. And I think that Cody has a Prismatic Ending in hand, so killing that would make a fair amount of sense. The only real downside of that is it means Cody won't be developing his own board, his own game plan. He won't be able to play something like a Teferi, but maybe he's fine with that.
Yep. Already does the Prismatic Ending.
I'll shock.
He's shocking in the Steam Vents. Maybe a shot he wants to develop, or... Yep, he is going to Prismatic Ending down the Ren 6.
Yeah, I think it might just also be a sign that he wants to hold up this binding here. Like, maybe if Dave Shields goes for a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, he's just going to bind that before the loot happens, something of that nature.
Yep. Dave, head in his hands, taking a big think here about what does Cody have and what do I want to do? No real look on Dave's hand. Like Leyline Binding on the going to be cast, and Teferi is going to be the only legal target.
Okay.
I love Dave's little yep. Like when something goes his way, kind of like shaking his head like, yep, all right. That's what I was kind of hoping for. Now, what's next? It looks like he's going to pass the turn.
So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe Dave Shields even setting this up, right? He knows that if he persists, Veilson would be really brutal. So he first removes the Teferi from the table, which means that A, he can fight with resist, and B, Cody doesn't have the guaranteed ability to remove an Archon if he does go for that persist, and it resolves.
Yep.
Definitely makes sense to me, although it's a little unfortunate that Dave's had to kind of miss that land drop themselves behind, only to wait on the persist.
Yep. Yeah, and you see Cody grab that Veil of Summer.
Correct. Down to 15.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah, in the basic force, it says. So, you know, we don't get the trigger this turn. We know Cody has the answer lined up in his hand, but if you're Dave, it's not even clear that this is the end of the world for you.
Yeah, well, part of it is I just think Dave is kind of priced in. Like, once you've missed that land drop just to discard your Archon, I feel like you don't then want to sit around waiting forever while they're ahead on mana, if that makes sense. You're sort of incentivized to pull the trigger faster and just hope they don't have it.
Feels good.
Agreed. I kind of like this too because if if this goes your way, then maybe Cody gets into some solitude or whatever, but you get your little 2-for-1 whatever, you're happy. And then if he has a veil, well, your future creativity now isn't going to get veiled, or is less likely to get veiled, because Dave knows Cody only has 2 Veil of Summers in the 75.
That's very true. In fact, if Cody does just go for this solitude, like let's say that for example Cody passed the turn, beginning of combat he solitudes this Archon, Dave is gonna know the shields are more or less down, but he's not gonna have that much ability to interact from there, and therefore maybe he's just gonna go immediately for a creativity for 2, and that's probably going to go well for him.
Yeah, and we're seeing Dave there be like, huh, what's going on over there? This is what's happening. So he draws first turn. Trying to figure out exactly how he wants to line this up. With the Amani brother watching him from behind his back.
So if that everything that we discussed does come to pass, if what happens is the Solitude gets hit from the Archon, Dave goes for creativity, X equals 2, Cody responds to Leyline Binding, Dave still ends up with an Archon. It's quite a good situation.
Yeah, he ends up with the Archon, and Cody, I think, has, like, basically no cards left in hand, like, just one.
Yes.
And it looks like we are beginning a combat. Gonna cast the Solitude. Dave's gonna gain 5 up to 19. No Veil Summer for white just yet.
Gain 5, go to 19.
To be fair, though, if Dave doesn't have the creativity here, that might mean Cody's fine. He has a decent little hand there. Oh, wait, is that a second Veil in his hand?
3 cards left, yes.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I think he picked up for the turn. That's a good one. It looks like he even just has the Leyline Binding. He's like, oh yeah, Dave, I'm going to kill one of your Archons. Don't worry about it. Just do your thing.
The second Veil out of 2 is a huge draw here. Because that means that, okay, so if Dales goes for it, he can, instead of Leyline Binding one of the Dwarf tokens over, he can just hold his Leyline Binding, go for the Veil, counter both Archon triggers, untap. One of them is guaranteed to be able to be cleaned up, and he basically just needs to find between his Veil draw and his regular draw any way to move an Archon to the table. That's not trivial, but it's not that hard.
And I'm going to draw 2 and discard 2.
Yeah, it looks like Dave also has plans for this white mana because he's exposing a Dwarf right now. It looks like he's going to shoot down the Solitude, and then he targeted himself. I'm unsure with what mode. It might be treasure, it might be looting. We'll have to see exactly what goes on. Cody's going to take a look here. This is a card that targets itself with all the modes, or targets the player, so you can't fizzle it by, killing the Solitude.
I mean, he could have Veiled there to save Solitude and draw a card. It's pretty medium, though. I think it's very reasonable for Cody to ask to do better.
I agree. I think maybe, if the Veil had actually counted the Prismari command, right, like that was the only legal target, as it looks like Dave decided to keep the spell pierces.
Pretty reasonable.
At least 2 of them.
Again, just like, you really, really, really want to counter the ring curve. It's the best way to answer it. And even later, you might be able to find spots where you pick a fight, a bunch of shit ends up on the stack, and you are able to spell pierce something.
Agreed. Makes sense.
Sure.
Cody's like, I'm the beat down. Maybe not. Takes second thought. Bam. 1. Taste it, Shields. Are we going to get the rare fetch double block?
Fetch.
Sure. So you're going to 17?
Yeah. And I'm going to make a Dwarf and double block.
Yeah.
It looks like the answer is yes.
All right.
Oh, take it.
If you're Cody, that probably is a sign that maybe there's no creativities in hand, right?
I think I would.
I wouldn't be too keen to make that sort of exchange if you could, put a couple Archons
my
on
turn.
the next turn.
I mean, probably. Again, there's a dynamic where Dave probably doesn't want to just slam creativity into a million open mana regardless. So, like, fighting the small ball fight, pressuring Cody, forcing him to act is a decent part of his game plan. And kind of fetching for that Dwarf there does sort of do that. Baiting out a bolt on those 2 Dwarf tokens might be good for Dave.
Sure.
True. Looks like Dave's definitely looting. He might be making a treasure. He might have shot Cody. We'll have to see exactly what happened with the second mode here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine treasure, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, the shock would be a very confident line. Bam, you to 13. Looks like it's a mountain something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Okay, it looks like 2 lands. Just put this card there.
Yeah, Leyline Binding, Bitter Reunion. Another Leyline Binding in hand. Looks like we're going to lead off with this Bitter Reunion.
Bitter Reunion.
Good.
Draw 2.
Yep.
Discarding a
What's
triumph.
interesting about this is, okay, as the game goes along, and both players continue to hit land drops, no one really getting any kind of decisive advantage. All of this, like, filtering Dave is doing isn't really putting him up on cards, just sort of churning, finding the right ones. And
Your turn.
but what's interesting is, okay, this Veil sort of becomes better. Because we're going to reach a point where Cody can start doing stuff on his main phase, and then still having the ability to Veil, maybe even Veil through Spell Pierce or what have you. At which point, it's going to be very tricky for Dave to actually win, because even 3 Archons or whatever could just be cleaned up without too much difficulty.
True. You do see a Ren 6 here. And we have that Triome in the graveyard if we want to start cycling. I also just pick up a fetch land. You know.
Sure.
Looks like Triumph was the pick there, right?
Yeah, I believe that was the Triumph.
13.
And it looks like Dave's doing kind of what you talked about, right, Andrew? He's just like, yeah, let's play 5 bunch of small battles. I've got the long game. I can hardcast Archons. Don't worry about it. You know? It's crazy he's going to flash in Solitude here at the end of turn.
I think this is a good sign that Dave plan's working. Like, Cody's thinking, okay, now that Dave has assembled Ren plus Triumph, he's drawing 2 cards a turn. He has his own personal Phyrexian Arena, which means I have to act. I need to start doing stuff. I can't just sit here anymore. I'm falling further and further behind each turn. So Cody's kind of priced into playing Solitude, which he doesn't really want to do. Like, he's playing it kind of as a beater. You know, but well, this Ren is drawing 2 cards a turn. He has to pressure it somehow, and this is what he's got.
Yeah. Is Dave thinking about the double Dwarven Mine, double block?
Sure.
He was taking a think there.
I think that is the play under consideration. Although, and this could make sense. Like, obviously being out of dwarves isn't the greatest for Dave, but he still has that treasure token sitting around. And with Bitter Reunion in play, it doesn't take that many Archons to kill your opponent, so I can imagine it's making sense. Also, just if Dave draws 2 cards a turn long enough, I believe nothing matters.
Yeah, if you just go up enough cards, Dave will eventually win, especially with Cody here missing land drops, right? We haven't mentioned it too much, but Cody's missed the last 2 or 3 turns of lands, and that is, you know, obviously he's got a lot of spells in hand, but if Dave's doing both things, he's going to catch up eventually. We're going to Leyline Binding.
One of the tokens.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, one of these tokens.
So,
Alright, so Cody waited for the double block to happen, then went for the binding to get both dwarves.
yep. So now Dave's going to have to do something if he wants to
How many cards?
protect these
3
dwarves.
cards left.
It's like... He's got something he wants to cast. Looks like his own Leyline Binding.
Finding results.
Unclear to me if he's hitting the... Okay, he's going to go after the Solitude. That way he gets to keep his 1 dwarf around.
This dies. This goes here.
Players fighting over a 3/2 lifelink, just like Limited.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's a strong stat.
Shadow.
No Death Shadow.
Go ahead.
End of turn cycle.
Sure.
And at this point, again, Cody's in the same bind. Ren's drawing 2 cards a turn. You have to do something about it. If you don't, your opponent's just eventually going to beat you, whether or not Archon hits the battlefield anytime soon. And I don't really know what Cody plans to do this. I think the advantage bar is going farther and farther in Dave Shield's favor right now.
Yeah, Dave just, you know, needs to find another black man and some Archons to play, as we are seeing him. He cycled end of last turn, drew for turn, picked up, cycled again. Just getting his extra 2 cards, and let's take a think now. Does have the Dwarf, and, you know, once again he can start attacking in, and the difference between 13 and 12 is pretty big when Archon's involved. You know, you play an Archon and haste with Bitter Union, that's 12 damage, so... Dave does have some real pressure to get that last point across here. One of these last points, as they besiege you on the Leyline Binding. That Solitude underneath is done.
Yeah, and I imagine Dave didn't end up attacking with that dwarf because he didn't want to be kind of ambushed by a flashed Solitude or Besage. And also because he might want to block with dwarf, especially if somehow Cody ends up with more powerful creatures in play. Although I guess I'm not exactly sure how that would be possible.
Yeah, I respect that, you know, the 1 point does matter, like we talked about, but also Cody's got a bunch of fetch lands in deck. And
So I
so
got 17,
there's a
13
reasonable
right
chance
now.
Cody just does the 12th damage. Or does the 1 point of damage to go to 12.
This is game 2.
I'm up a game.
Yeah, I also just don't know how important Cleese really is. Like, if Dave Shields is playing as this kind of Ren control deck, draw 2 cards a turn, you know, it's possible he'll win the game even if Cody has 100 life.
It's possible, but I do think Dave wants to threaten, like, being at 12 is something Cody has to think about, you know what I mean? But I do think it is not clear to me that it's like, oh, obviously this matters, you know?
The 1 ring.
As we do see the ring come down here.
Resolves.
Sure.
Now Cody's up to 13 with the Solitude
I'll pass it.
lifelink.
The ring is a huge draw for Cody here because he's casting it kind of with the ability to pay for spell pierce, which means that he's basically guaranteed to get a card off of it. And even if Dave Shields is able to answer it with Terra Sunder or whatever, that's still a fine exchange for Cody.
Yep.
I guess the interesting part is Dave can wait for Cody to activate it and then Terra Sunder in response, which in turn means that Cody doesn't have to activate it and
we
can
did that.
see if Dave taps out. Although, with this many lanes in play, that doesn't seem very likely.
Yeah, I think if Cody's either going to do it at the end of turn or at the beginning, right? Because you want to do it before Dave gets more cards, or you want to, you know, for some reason leave the activation up. Turns out Dave had the Leyline Binding to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
10 and 6.
looks like we are going to Ren and 6 minus on the Solitude, play another Ren and 6.
Solitude.
Yes.
Minus on the Solitude again, clear that up. Ren and 6 control deck in full effect.
Yes, and you see here, Dave has now found the creativity. But it's sort of unclear, if, even given that he has it, if he actually wants to go for it.
Yeah, definitely probably going to wait this turn, you know, with just them playing. Yeah, Leyline Binding the ring and no cards for Cody. But Cody has his own Leyline Binding to bind the binding. The way these templating do work these days, the ring's going to stay in play, doesn't flicker out or anything like that.
Untap.
Untap of the turn for Cody.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, Cody's unprotected by the ring. He draws a bunch of cards, which is good. He's refilling, and boy, he needed it. But then there's going to be this turn where it's sort of unclear whether Dave should go for his creativity, or whether he's going to keep playing this sort of small ball fight, wait for Cody's more resources, and kind of have it be his last straw.
Yeah, looks like Cody did pick up a Preordain.
Preordain.
Take a little look-ski. Veil of Summer, Prismatic Ending, Island, Unknown is Cody's hand. So he picked one and bought the other. Picked up a Flusterstorm.
I mean, Flusterstorm... Okay, it's possible that Cody can maneuver the game to a state where there's some sort of Leyline Binding related fight on the turn that Dave goes for creativity, but it's going to be pretty tough. Dave just has so many lands that are going for so many turns. The Flusterstorm is pretty blank.
Yeah, it's gonna take some schmoovin on Cody's part to make that happen for sure. As we do see Dave fetching here at the end of turn.
And he's out of Dwarven Mines, so I assume this is just a fetch for like a random tap land.
Yeah, Dave's just like, I've drawn all the lands I want for this game. Let's just, you know, pick them up. Dave playing second Steam Vents. What a crisp shuffle. Yeah, picked up on the table back there.
Years of practice from Dave.
It's like Dave drew a card he's interested in.
I mean, with only 2 cards in hand, it seems tough for Dave not to go for this here. But
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. Looks like we are just going to use all the mines.
Creativity.
This creativity, yeah, on this
One card.
token. And we drew Persist for the turn. So, obviously not great against Solitude and stuff, but really good against, you know, if a double Fury type thing happens, or we have to, you know, boot away an Archon. Oh, Cody's going to save the Veil Summer and just Leyline Binding down the treasure.
that makes
this
a lot
one.
of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. No reason to risk it. Like we talked about before, you know, Leyline Binding can sometimes be a liabilities in the 4-color matchups with things like Boseijus. And
Okay,
Dave's
but-
just taking a
Now I have a critical question. What's the storm count?
13.
look. It's high, but not high enough.
Yeah.
Draw 3.
But Dave's just going to pass the turn back, and at this point, Cody is well and clearly ahead. I mean, he's cleared the red, he's stopped Dave's recurring advantage, he's got his own advantage going. All 4 Dwarven Mines are down, so it's going to be tough for Dave to creativity for enough to actually close out this game. 1 is not going to do it. 2 might do it, but only if the Zealous Lord is handled first. I think Dave's in trouble.
Dave's definitely in a hard place right now. You can tell. You can tell in the leyline binding. Oh, he's passing the turn
Down
back.
to 10.
We're on the hopeless. Man, I hope this ring kills you before you kill me. Yeah.
God.
How about
The nice
12?
quote that I heard, which
11,
is,
10.
I hope that they die in their own ring, is
Yeah, I think
the
I missed the last
2023 version of I hope they disconnect and never come back.
Yeah. I recently played an event where my opponent had the other 3 rings in the bottom 15 cards of the deck, and my eyes were getting wide, Andrew, when I tell you that I was hopeful, and I still lost. So, you know, it's really hard to do.
Yeah. And Cody re-ringing here, I think is actually a sign of extreme strength. Since, like, okay, if his hand was bad, I mean, he could take another hit and draw, like, 4 more cards. So, the fact that he's doing this at all is he's saying, no, I have all the cards that I need. I'm all set.
I'm fine just to finish things out here. As, you know, Dave is dead in just 3 more turns to this Elish one attacking. He wants another one.
Overturn.
I wonder if Cody went back in his deck and changed how he sideboarded, because when we were watching, he had left the Omnaths in, but we're not seeing any right now, so I wonder if maybe he changed his plan while we were watching Dave sideboard. We have seen a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Certainly would be reasonable. It is also possible that he's left some in. Like, it was not uncommon for people to have like 2 or 3 Omnaths. I'm not 100% sure what the sort of most modern ones do. And there you do see the aforementioned Omnath. So he has at least some.
Yeah, and we draw 2 thanks to Elish Looks like the judges were like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I got this Elish like, sheesh. Anyways, gonna gain 4 life and 4 mana. The fetch will also do 4 to Dave, which is pretty, you know,
Me too.
important. Look, especially with Cody having a bolt in hand, that is lethal. As long as Dave has a, sorry, as long as Cody has a land 2 fetch.
Use all but my green.
To be fair, I'm not 100% sure that he does. He has a lot of lands in play and a lot of cards in hand, some of which are lands. So I don't know if there's a fetchable still available, but yeah, that would be lethal if there is. To be fair, if there isn't a fetchable available, I would like to state that I think it's still roughly lethal.
Yeah, let the record hold that it was bad. As Cody moves to discard, and just like, here's 2 premium spells. I don't need those. Move on. And Dave's had enough. Let's pack him up and get a game number 3 here in top 12. Whew, exciting one.
That game was absolutely fascinating. I think. Just Cody was able to, kind of lose the small ball fight for a long time, but stay resilient, hold up his interaction, never give Dave a free moment of creativity, and then resolve the ring, turn the corner, and take the game. And I really think that's the fundamental dynamic of the matchup. If the ring sticks, 4 colors gonna win, okay? That's what the card does. Dave has the tools to fight the battle, but if it ends up in play for any significant period of time, the game's gonna end in a hurry.
Alright, it looks like, I was checking out Dave's sideboard. It looks like he did bring in the Terror Sunders and just took out 2 bolts, is what he ultimately decided on. Just a little small change. Small change.
Okay, so he left some bolts in
I
then?
tried my hardest for
Interesting.
that one.
So he must value killing the light halfling more than I sort of anticipated.
Yeah, maybe
That's-
Halfling, and also, he's tying out a 3rd bolt here.
I put them right here.
Might be, like you just said, he really cared about Halfling, and when he was on the draw, wanted to bolt it down.
Yeah, didn't want to let the opponent kind of run away with it, be able to like stick it to Fairy and then still hold shields up for a long time, something of that nature. But now that he's on the play, less worried about all that, and happy to just have 1 or 0 bolts in.
Oh, thank you.
Makes
Sorry.
a lot of sense to me. You know what else makes a lot of sense, Andrew? Using your Twitch Prime on this Twitch channel. Honorog's out here doing all that he can to bring us paper magic, and your Twitch Prime's free. And listen, I don't even care if you use it on Honorog. Just use it on somebody. Honorog's my kind of preferred person if it can't be me. But, just make sure you use that Twitch Prime, and it's a great way to support the stream. Also, following, that's why Honorog kind of, is able to get more sponsors. There we go, Frago, with the Twitch Prime in the chat. We'd love to see it. But this is kind of, if you don't have the money, that's understandable. Click that follow button if you haven't already. That way, Honorog can go to sponsors and be like, look, Mason Clark, I have all these people. Don't you want to give me money so you can promote your coaching? And then people like me go, I'd love to give you money to promote my coaching. So, it's a great way to support the stream if you don't have that. Totally understandable. We'll always be free. Let's go smash off with another Twitch Prime in the chat there. We love to see it from everyone.
Clearly, that's a problem.
Looks like no change. Was there one change? Sorry, I went into shill mode. I went into Mason Shills mode. You know,
It's fine. I'm not 100% sure if Dave made any other changes. I think maybe he just has the one bolt in, but I'm not certain. Although I would like to say I certainly do agree with you that, I don't know, bringing paper coverage back, even in sort of in less formal form, is wonderful for the game, great for the community, and a real service. I think it's incredibly hard to argue that
It's
Underdog
not
does
as important as it is.
provide just a ton of value for the community as a whole.
It's no pioneer.
I have to agree. As Ario Top Deck to subscribe to the Prime, let's
don't talk
go.
about Prime.
We get 5 more primers in chat, then maybe someone else will prime.
Oh, yeah.
Get a little train going. Gotta be
Would you
That's-
say
that's my
that you're
vibe.
currently trying to prime the chat to prime?
Yes. It's September. That's right. Honorhog just reminded me. Actually, subscribing right now is we just got another one from InCard. Thank you so much. I think I said your name wrong, but that's all right. This is 25% off this month. So Honorhog gets the full amount of money, but Twitch just takes less money from y'all. So if you want to subscribe, now is the best month to do it. As we got another subscription with Prime for 13 months. Let's go. When the game starts, the shilling ends. But until then, you can get your name right on screen, just like Labanab MTG.
Would you say that once the shilling stops, the shielding begins?
Yes, I agree. That's when he goes full mode. Looks like he's got a bit of a tough one. Good chance if you're someone trying to process your Twitch Prime right now.
I'll keep.
I will keep.
Yeah, it is also crazy that Honorog's setup is actually just like as good as SCG was all by himself. As we were going to see an Aaron Mesa for the turn, and that pass to Cody. He's going to play Delight halfway off of Forest. Looks like, does Cody not have many lands? I'm having a, okay, he has 2. He has 2 in the back. All right. I thought he had 1 land Delight halfling, and I was like, dang, Cody's living that. But
No, I think he has 2, and I think he also has a Ren and 6. So if that second land is a fetch land, then he's going to be absolutely fine. Which
looks
I
like he has
think it
Margaret
is.
and Hollowed Fountain. He might be a fetch as the last card. I can't see whatever the very last card is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Certainly, you keep this hand even if it's not a fetch land. You're happy to just play it for your turn 2, keep
Yep.
going. Can't complain about that.
Yeah, it looks like just a Dormant Mind tap from Dave on turn 2 here. Never the thing you're in love with.
Sorry.
Yep.
It's a Fairy Time Rival at turn 2 here for Cody.
Yep, go ahead.
The advantage of this Delight Halfling, just so you get out way far ahead on your mana development. And we do have a Windswept Heath now.
Bitter Union.
Sure. One of the awkward things Dave's now dealing with is, all right, like, let's say that Dave has a Fable here. He doesn't really want to play it into the barrel of a loaded Teferi. I mean, maybe he just accepts that exchange, but it's not good for him.
Agreed. As we do see a Bitter Reunion discarding the Archon. That's going to open up a Persist line and just play a Mountain for turn here for Dave.
No targets.
Cody's going to minus on nothing. Dave jokingly points to my Bitter Reunion. You want to let me rummage a little more?
Play a run.
Cody's going to play
Oh, it's good.
1 and 6. You used to jokingly call it Ren and $600, but now the card's cratered in price.
Absolutely.
I will crack a shock.
So, what's interesting about this situation is, okay, Cody's got a lot of stuff going on. You know, he has this Halfling, he's got this Fairy, he's got this Ren. His hand doesn't have that much in the way of interaction, I believe. I think he has, like, 1 Solitude, no Leyline Bindings, like,
Play half.
not...
It's good.
So, like,
Take up run.
if Dave goes for creativity, especially creativity for like 2 or whatever, it's probably going to be devastating, even given all the kind of rectangles Cody has access to.
I agree.
This like highly proactive game is honestly not how I prefer my hand to look against creativity. I'm not saying Cody should have mulliganed. Obviously, his hand's a keep. It's just that like, well, you'd really like to have something like a Veil, a Dovin's Veto, something to protect you from just immediately losing to a fast creativity.
Yep. And we see Dave here has a Leyline Binding in hand, has a Spell Pierce in hand, has a Creativity. Looks like he's going to main phase cast this Leyline Binding. Cody taking the big thing.
Sure.
I think the thinking here makes sense. Even if Cody has nothing, at least representing the possibility of a binding in response is a heads-up play.
Yeah, I think some people think when I say big think here, that it's a negative. It's a positive for me. I think actually taking your time and double checking your work is a common sign in strong Magic players, and just a good way to it's like why Cody got here. We didn't miss anything small. It's an untimed round. Let's just double check and make sure that I'm not missing anything. So I really respect the take your time here. By the way, it looks like Dave missed his land drop for turn. Pretty bad news if you're a Dave Shields fan. Looks like we are back to him though, and he's going to play this Dwarven Mine.
Fine.
Yeah, and part of the challenge here is that they would really like to set up creativity for greater than 1, but with so few lands, it kind of feels priced in just firing it off.
Cards in hand.
When Dave goes that creativity, he has to know it's not going to work. It's so likely Cody has some sort of interaction.
Yeah.
I wonder if Dave has a second creativity or persist or something of that nature, and therefore just happy to kind of exchange creativity for whatever interaction and hope that Cody's interaction like.
Main 4.
Yeah, I'd have to think Dave might have used to persist earlier if he did have it.
Yeah, 1725.
But he might be setting up for it now.
I got
Solitude's
me
on the board.
1722. Yes.
Yeah, could definitely make sense.
Tick up tough.
Also, like when you think about the hands Cody would have kept, he probably would have kept all the cards you saw and just like, oh, I've got some lands, some halflings, and some spells. And if you're Dave, it's like, all right, well, kind of force him to have it because my hand can't really play around much else.
Right. I mean, the advantage of this like very proactive hand for Cody is that in general, Dave has no ability to play this like grindy Ren control deck game into something to start like this. He pretty much needs to resolve a creativity. He's just too far behind to win otherwise. So that's kind of the trade-off. Cody has less interaction to fight creativity with,
I'll add 4 mana.
but if the creativity does land, it's going to be pretty good.
Put the green to cycle land.
It looks like Cody is cycling a land here. Get the Roggen Triumph out of hand.
He's my remaining.
So
mana
one
floating.
line Cody might end up going for here is if he indeed is afraid of interaction. Oh boy, wait a minute, but that's the One Ring, so now I guess he's afraid of nothing. I was thinking that there's a chance Cody might want to at some point bounce his Solitude, but yeah, Dave is going to concede to the ring. Can't really blame him. Once the ring is in play, Cody kind of has it all. Infinite mana, infinite cards, infinite resources. It would take creativity for a lot to clean up, and Dave doesn't really have the lands to cast creativity for a lot, much less the other necessary components.
Yeah, and we're seeing there, congratulations to Cody. He lost his last round, which we thought maybe would put him out of top 12, but snuck in at 10th and is moving on to the rest of our official top 8 now. So we're going to have to see how Cody does playing the other matches. We did see when the Amani brothers sit down, someone who's known in the Ohio area. So we'll see who's moved on exactly here. As I think Otterog probably has some words to say to us, but we'll have to see in a second. But also, I gotta say this: I respect Dave being like, I'm dead. Let's just move on with my life. Looks like we are gonna take a quick break here before we get back to the rest of the matches. So make sure follow the channel, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes.